completely done. And we're theoretically supposed to move on 3.1.2 today. There were some people who have skipped 3.1.2 and gone on to 3.1.3, and there's a reason why they skipped it. Because it's a little harder. Or so they think. I'm actually going to try to make it a little nicer for them. Before we can do that, my goodness, I don't know what happened with my lab, but we've gotten so far behind on math workshop. So I want to handle the top 8. That many. I'm needing the help factoring. Yes, Brittany, the first one requires what? What should we do?
Alright. Pull out the GCF.
And she can have a point for that. And what is the GCF?
Greatest common factor.
Yes, but what, for this problem. Yes, ma'am. So true. I should have specified.
Hold up. 192, wait, divided by 2. That's like.
You know Brittany's thinking out loud. If someone else knows the answer, she's not going to care. Yes, dear.
That's like 12x1. Oh, you said 1.
And what are you left with?
16x cubed plus 5y to the 4th.
Perfect. So if you factor out a 12xy, well, that one was x to the 4th, so it has 3 x's left. You pulled out its y, it has no y's left. 12 times 16 is 192. 12 times 5 is 60. You already pulled out an x. It was y to the 5th. You pulled out one y, so y to the 4th is left. She can have a point for that. Now, if we were questioning Claire's sanity, how could we check ourselves? Is it technically foiling? It's distributing. So yes, ma'am, you can have a point for that one. Okay, number 2 has 4 terms. What are we going to do?
Oh, you gotta put it in groups.
Grouping. Brittany get a point. So we're going to do grouping. What can I pull out of my first group?
X.
And what are you left with?
X minus 5.
And what did you pull out of the second group?
3.
And what were you left with?
X.
Okay, perfect. So you can have a point for that. Our final answer is x squared plus 3 times x minus 5. Yay, that one was good. Number 3, is one of my favorites because the leading coefficient is 1, so it's supposed to be easy factoring. 2 things that add to give me -3, multiply to give me -4. Yes, ma'am.
I had a plus 1 and a minus
-4 plus 1 is -3. -4 times 1 is -4, so Lauren gets herself another point. When I told Lauren to have these done beforehand, I mean, she got them done beforehand. Good. Get all the points. Okay. Number 4 is for sure my favorite problem of the day. Can anyone tell me why it's my favorite problem? No. We're going to go all the way through number 8. Because it's the difference of squares, because 81 is the perfect square, and you can have a point for that, ma'am. Do you have the answer? You also had your hand raised. Yes.
Yes, I do.
Please tell me it to me.
Okay. Or D.
Mm-hmm.
D minus 9.
Mm-hmm.
D minus 9.
Mm-mm.
D plus 9.
No. And you can
I
have a
was going
point.
to say plus, and I was like, it's not plus 15.
Okay, so if you start questioning yourself, which is good, you could check yourself by FOIL, granting a point. If you were to FOIL this out, you'd have d squared plus 9d minus 9d, so the middle and the outer and inner cancel out, and then minus 81. Because we want a minus 81, it has to be 2 minus 9s. If we did, a minus 9 and a plus 9. If we did what Brittany was thinking, d minus 9, d minus 9, we would end up with d squared minus 18d, and then plus 81, so that would stink. So no. Yeah, I need to go back to those tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll go back to those factoring ones. Leave that page open for me, at least I can see over your shoulder. Tomorrow we're going to go back to the 10-2. I want to do 5 through 10. Thank you, Emma. It's still more factoring, so if you're good at factoring, go ahead and knock them out. Okay, I want to go to the other problem on the page. That is another perfect square issue. What number is that?
8.
Caitlin gets a point. She said, she said it first. English. Come out. Okay, ma'am. Tell me the answer.
I'm sorry. Well, I have made it where
Yeah,
it
you're
was on the
supposed to
other
like switch
side.
around where
She
you
moved it around, and that's great, but I did it exactly as it was given, so I'm going to give Grant the point, and Lauren won't cry about it. It'll be fine. Lauren's still right. I just did what Grant did because 144 was first, so I put the 12s first.
Okay, very was first.
Oh my goodness. So true, but we didn't in this case. So Lauren reordered the problem because she is a proper math student. And so she said negative u plus 12, positive u plus 12. But my gosh, who wants to do that? That's no fun. Okay, let's go to number 7. Okay, what is the answer, Grant?
C minus 8 and C minus 8.
Perfect, and you can have a point. But wouldn't it be better to just write c minus 8 squared? Negative 8, negative 8, add to negative 16. Negative 8 times negative 8 is positive 64. Perfect. Okay, and then number 6, there are 4 terms, so I'm going to group. Every group can have a point. Group, every group can have a point. That was funny. Okay, so I'm going to do grouping. What can I factor out of each group?
X plus 5. Negative 3y. X plus 5.
You have a point for that. So my final answer is 4x minus 3y, x plus 5. Terrific. And then number 5. Last but not least, number 5.
number 5.
What can I... Whoa, yes, dear.
Gotta factor out an X.
First things first, there is a GCF, so he's right. So let's factor out it.
Wait, don't you got to group first? You got to group first.
He realized there's an x in everybody, so let's take the x out. 12x to the 4th minus 18x squared minus 3x plus 1. That was smart of him. There is a GCF. Okay, but now I'm with Brittany in that it looks like a grouping problem. But I'm afraid what's going to happen, because this is not the first time I've worked this problem today, I'm afraid what's going to happen is we're about to be royally disappointed, because I don't think it's going to work.
It's not going to work.
So I think we put this in a group, and you say, okay, we'll factor out a 6x squared, and you're left with a 2x squared minus 3. And then with that second group, you're like, there's nothing I can take out. I mean, maybe a negative sign for fun, but not really. So I still have negative 3x plus 1, and so life didn't work. So really, Grant was right to begin with. All we can do is factor out an x. Technically, that was a form of factoring. Technically, we did the job. I would just keep the whole green. Thank you, Emily, for clarifying. You can have a point. I would just leave it as the green. Okay, Emily has me on check, so she can have another point for that. I did not mean to skip a whole math workshop page. Whoops. Need to get caught up on that, too. So we're going to come back to that other one tomorrow. Goodness gracious, Miss Compton, get it together. Okay, so, yes, it's out of 25 every week, 5 points per day. So as long if your group gets over 25 every week, you're getting bonus. Like, one group, I think it was Lauren's group last week had 30 something or 29. I want to say 29 for some reason.
So, like, do you just add them daily, or how does that work?
I add them all up on Fridays. On Friday, no. So every day I pick up the slips and I put them in a gym clip, and so you'll see the other days are in the drawer, and then I pull them all out on Friday and add them all up for the week and type them in on Friday.
How do you know, like?
Because I write on it like, look, this was. Where are you, slips?
How do you know a little piece of paper?
I'm like second, 10, 24, and these are all my second period slips from 24.
Oh,
So I have a little stack from every class period every day. But it's fine.
That's so cool.
But it's fine.
okay.
Okay, so moving along. I need you to, on your textbook, 3.1.2, I'm going to actually give you some answers. Who am I?
What?
So, I know, right? So, if you would like to go ahead and write these answers in on your book, because I'm going to go to and explain in just a second. So number 17, I would write 28 beside it. So, Caitlin understands that means she's going to have to share some math, because like 7 times 4 or whatever she does. I think it's, what page are we on, Urban? 30. Okay, well, but I bet you did it and have the wrong number, so you probably won't put the right numbers beside it. 17 is 28. 18 is 60 or 28. So there are some answers that have 2 options. We'll talk about why in just a second. Okay, 19 is 124. 20 is 240. 21 is 2f raised to the x power, which explains it here. Let's see that further.
You said 2f raised to the f power.
X power, because there was x times of the f, so like f raised to the x. If you just wrote it out like this, you're going to get all your points.
Even without that bug.
Yeah, that way you understand like it went on this many times, x times. Okay, 22 is 68 or 25. 23 is 82 or 34. And then 24 is 414 or 83. So I know Lauren's group was ahead, and they already did 3.1.1 entirely, and then they got stuck on 3.1.2, so they went on to 3.1.3. And let's talk about why people get stuck on 3.1.2, because your answers probably, maybe you're genius like Emily, but your answers probably weren't matching these. We got to talk about why. Okay, so first of all, why are there 2 different numbers? We need to discuss that, because some of them have 2 options. I don't expect you to get both options. You're going to be either a high person or a low person. I bet you're a high person like me. What's happening is, are we counting duplicates? I don't bother to take the time to subtract them out, so I'm counting them as separate things, which is why I get the high number. Back to, is vanilla on as the first scoop, chocolate second scoop, the same as chocolate first scoop, vanilla second scoop? I mean, technically they had 1 scoop of each, so I get why fundamentally they're the same. But since they were done in a different order, does that make them different? So the people who want to argue, no, those are not the different cones, maybe they figure out a way to get to the low numbers. But like me, sure, they're different cones, whatever. I end up getting the high numbers. Okay, so in our textbook, I've been trying to talk you into for the longest, so I've worked out 17 with a tree diagram. Let me move my other stuff. I've been trying to talk to you in the longest about using a tree diagram, which, as we discussed last week, eventually gets to be a royal pain in the butt. Because, like, 17 is supposed to be 28, so at the end of it all, when I count them all up, I'm supposed to have 28 little tiny branches. And so if one of the answers is 240, that would mean 240 tiny branches. Grant does not want to have 240 tiny branches. No. So he's probably not going to do this. But if you're determined, because I have this one guy for the period, he's determined to tree diagram the world. So if you want to do it with a tree diagram, you can. So if we're using a tree diagram, I did a branch for each scoop. 1 scoop, 2 scoop, 3 scoop. And then I do branches for the 2 different kinds of cones, sugar or waffle. And then I still do a branch for is it vanilla or chocolate. But the other limbs are longer because 1 scoop only had 1 scoop of vanilla or chocolate. Whereas 2 scoops has to account for, was my first scoop vanilla chocolate, and then what was my second scoop. And then 3 scoops got the same issue but even more complicated. What was my first scoop? What was my second scoop? What was my third scoop? So needless to say, if you want to do this, you can. This is not what I recommend. Okay, what I recommend is fundamental counting principle, which is what we worked on our past couple days with that worksheets or whatever. But what's going to happen is Irvin's going to see on number 17, 2, 3, 2. He says 2 times 3 times 2 is 12. Done. And that's wrong because the answer is 28.
No.
So let's talk about what's going wrong. And it's really not the fundamental counting principle. It's us. We're the issue. We actually need to do the fundamental counting principle. Woo! Don't die. Do not die, whoever can. Not today. Okay, so really the difference is we need to do the fundamental counting principle 3 different times. So I'm going to zoom in on this. This is how I would solve number 17, And to be honest, this is how I would solve almost every problem in 3.1.2. Okay, so, I don't know, maybe your group's a genius. I don't know what happened.
Me?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
How did you already get these? Okay, so the difference is, you need to do the fundamental counting principle for each scoop. So you need to have a line for 1 scoop, a line for 2 scoops, and a line for 3 scoops, and then you add them all up. Because yes, I have a sugar and a waffle cone, and then vanilla or chocolate, so I have 4 options if I'm getting 1 scoop only. But if I'm doing 2 scoops, I've got my option for sugar waffle, vanilla chocolate, and then vanilla chocolate again for that second scoop. So if there's 2 scoops, I actually have 8 options. And then 3 scoops, sugar waffle, vanilla chocolate, vanilla chocolate, vanilla chocolate, we end up having 16. And 16 plus 8 plus 4 actually is how we get to that 28. So the fundamental counting principle works, but you have to do it for each scoop and then add up your answers. Okay, are there any questions about that? Okay, I'm going to leave this on the screen. I've given you the answers. Your goal today is number 21 with your groups. If you can get past that, great. If you only make it to there, that's fine. I'm not going to cover. If your group is genius and already has beyond there, no one is stopping y'all from going further.